Welcome to Bake Along with Abby. My name is Abby and I am the Sunflower Baker, and today I would like to invite you into my home to bake along with me. Today we're going to be making golden chiffon cake. This is a really nice light cake, like its name, chiffon, which is a scarf, it's an airy light scarf. This is an airy light cake. It also is really good with flavor absorption, so you can use things like syrups to flavor it with. This is also a really good cake to start with if you haven't ever made a cake from scratch before. It's not the easiest one, but it is a really good introduction to a physical leavener. Yes, we're going to be whipping eggs today for our leavener. It also has an extra boost of baking powder just in case. But it's a really good place to start. So let's get started and see what ingredients and supplies we're going to be needing. All right, so I've washed my hands and I've preheated the oven to 350 degrees. So now, before you start anything, the first thing you're actually going to want to do is to prep your pans. So there are two ways to do this. You can do what I have done today, which is to grease and flour just the bottom, not the sides, just the bottom of the pans. Or you can cut out a circle of parchment paper, put that in the bottom, and grease the sides and the top of the parchment paper. Or in that case, you can use some spray, some like a release spray instead. But today I have greased the bottoms, so those are nice and ready to go. So I'm going to set those aside and we're going to go over our ingredients. Okay, so we are going to need 1 cup of cake flour, a half a cup of sugar, and we've got very bright sun today, so we've got a little bit of harsh shadows, but I'm not complaining because it's nice and sunny outside. So flour, sugar, we've got 1 teaspoon of baking powder, a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. You're going to need 4 eggs. I have 6 here because I'm going to separate them, and sometimes accidents happen. A 1/4 cup, here it is, of vegetable oil, a 1/4 cup of milk, and I'm using whole milk today, and then a half a teaspoon of vanilla extract. So there we go, there's our ingredients along with the eggs. Okay. So I'm going to set all of these back aside then. And we are going to talk about our eggs. So today's eggs are going to be separated. We are going to use both the yolks and the whites, but we're going to use them separately. So there are several ways to separate eggs. One thing that you do want to do when you separate eggs is you want to separate them in one bowl and then put them into another bowl, or in this case we're going to be putting them in 2 bowls. This just helps in case you get any yolk into your whites. It's okay to get a little bit of yolk into your whites, but if you get too much, then your whites just aren't going to want to whip up and be nice and fluffy. So the first thing I'm going to show you is this is an egg separator. There's different types, but I'm going to crack the egg in here. This little bowl is going to hold the yolk, and the white is going to go into this little container here. So this is a little fun guy. Woo. You're going to want to use fresh eggs or newer eggs from the store, because they're gonna keep their shape really nice, and they're going to want to separate out. So I'm going to jiggle him to get him nice and separated. So there we go. So now I have my yolk here and my white, oh, excuse me, white there. I'm going to set my yolk aside into this bowl, and I'm going to put my white into here. So that's one way to separate eggs. These are fun to use. Another way that you can use, you know what, I'm going to use this. Oop, there we go. Is you'll see this a lot, especially I see this a lot with grandmothers. So you're going to want to split the egg down the middle and then capture the yolk in one side. Whoa! And try not to drop that. And then you're going to push it over to this side to help separate it a little more. And you can actually cut the white with the shell to get it to separate off. And then kind of just toss it back and forth until all of the white is off. And then you have another separated egg. There we go. Oh, and this is a really good example to show you. So eggs are graded. So if you buy eggs at the store, you're going to see small, medium, large, and extra large. And that has to do with the size of eggs. Normally in baking, everything's kind of scaled to large eggs. A large egg, the inside weighs about 2 ounces. So they're sized by weight. And then they're graded. So you'll see grade, usually in the store you only see grade A, but there's grades A, B, and C. And it all has to do with the age they are and how they kind of stand up on each other. So these are grade A eggs, whereas the yolks and the whites are very firm. They're also fairly new eggs, which is why they say to use fresh eggs. So if you look in the bottom here, you can see this membrane from the shell. That is an air pocket. And as the egg ages, that air pocket is going to get larger. So if you find an egg with a larger air pocket, that means it's an older egg. All right. Whew. Clean up a little bit. So eggs are also a good form of glue, which is why I try not to let them dry onto surfaces because they can be a little hard to get off. So I've got 2 eggs separated, and I've got 2 methods. Another method that I'm going to show you is, put my glove on, to break it into your hand. So, and this is, for me, I have found this to be the fastest method. So I'm going to break that shell, and then I'm going to pour the egg into my palm, letting the white run through my fingers. There we go. So, and sometimes you can jiggle your fingers. So there we go. So we've got a yolk and a white, and that's 3 eggs. Oh, we're doing good today. So that's the 3 methods I know. I'm going to go ahead and use the separator again, because why not? I will take this guy off. There we go. And then, see if this guy comes out. Oh, yep, these are nice eggs. Also, if you use cold eggs, you're going to have a better time of separating them. So if you have a recipe that calls for room temperature eggs, you're going to want to separate them and then let them set. All right. Let's see. Yep, there we go. Let gravity do the trick. Sometimes if you pull it up, it'll fall off. So there we go. We've got our 4 yolks and we've got our 4 whites. All right. I'm going to wipe this off and set all these aside. Da, da, da. Okay, so now what we are going to do. So this cake is made in 2 parts. You're going to have your egg whites for your leavener, and you're going to have your batter. So we're going to make the batter first. All right. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put all the dry ingredients in a bowl. You can sift these if you choose. Today I'm not going to sift them because I feel a little lazy this morning. So I've got my flour and my salt and my sugar and my baking powder. There we go. And I'm going to take my spatula and just give them a good mix. Make sure they're mixed around really well. All right, and then kind of what we normally do, I'm going to make just a little well in the middle. And I can put all of my wet ingredients in separately, but I'm actually going to mix them together first. So I've got my eggs and my milk, and my oil. I'm using canola oil today. You can also use vegetable oil or olive oil. Any type of vegetable oil will do. And then my vanilla. So now we are going to just, try not to splash them everywhere. A little wild. It's the sunshine. It makes me very energetic this morning. Okay. So we're just going to mix those up. And then I'm just going to pour it into the well here in my center. Get all that I can out of the bowl. Oh, and I apologize. I forgot to say earlier, we are using 2 9-inch pans today for this cake. So I apologize for missing that. All right. So there we go. So we're just going to give this a nice mix, and we just want it to be nice and smooth. We'll see if I get any clumps. That's the thing that sifting's good for. But like I said, this morning I feel like being lazy. If you're making this for yourself, it's okay. You can have a clumpy cake batter. Nobody but you will care. All right. So there we go. We do want to get this all nice and mixed together, all homogenized together. There we go. All right. So it's nice and smooth. I don't see any flour. Oh, there's one. See that? I barely see any flour bits. That's all right. Okay, so we are just going to let this set. I'm going to set it right over here. And then we're going to get our eggs. So you're also going to want today, you can use an electric stand mixer. I'm going to use my hand mixer, and we are going to whip these eggs. So we want to whip these eggs to between a medium and a stiff peak. So there are 3 basic stages of egg whipping. There's soft peak, there's medium peak, and there's stiff peak. And stiff peak, you want to be careful because you can really dry out your eggs when you get to that point, because you think about it, you're putting air into it, and those proteins are stretching and stretching and stretching, and they can only stretch so much until they dry out too much. However, we're not going to go quite that far today. So we are going to just start whipping them up. Ooh, that's, yeah, so there we go. Oh, we're getting... Okay, I'm going to stop here. So as you can see, we're getting air into there, and they're foamy. So if you see a recipe, like if you're making something with the meringue, this is a stage where you really want to start adding your sugar in. However, we're just whipping our eggs today. We're not adding sugar, but I wanted you to be aware of that this is sometimes referred as like a foamy stage. we're not quite to a soft peak yet. If you whip a lot of eggs, you'll be able to tell in the whip what stage they're getting to. So I'm going to take this. All right, so if you take a spoon or spatula, you dip it in, you pull it out, and you're going to get this little dimple on there. So that dimple is going to want to go like this. I'm going to try to get it in. There we go. So you see how it's flopping over? That is a soft peak. So see, you've got, it still wants to be a little stiff, but it wants to lay over and take a nap. So that is a soft peak stage. You're also going to find out that if you stir it, it's a little more liquidy on the bottom still. That's all right. So there is a soft peak. You see that it still has a little bit of body to it. It's still wanting to create shapes, but it doesn't want to to spike up and stick up. So soft peak stage, there we are. Now let's try to see if we can get a medium peak in. Oh, come here. Okay, we're still soft. Yep. I guess you could have called that one a medium soft peak. Okay, so whoop, stay. All right, so come here. Yeah, nope. Still wants to be. So that trick is not going to show you very well. However, let's see. Well, yeah. So see how it's wanting to keep a shape and keep a peak in there and come up a little firmer. It still wants to fall over, but not as severely. So we always kind of learned soft peak, medium peak, and then a stiff peak. So if you think about it that way, just kind of the stages of like waking up and going, oh, I'm tired and I'm a little more. So medium peak eggs are a little more awake. And then, so we don't want to go to a stiff peak where they would just, if I went like this, it would just want to stand straight up. So I'm going to go just a little bit farther, not very much, just a little bit. And then we're going to put this into our batter. So here we go. You can also see how it wants to hold its shape more. So yeah, I think that is a good place to be because they're not quite stiff, and you can tell. Oh, put that over there. You can tell they're still shiny. They're nice and shiny, so they're not dried out yet, and that's where we want to be. And if you jiggle it, it's gonna want to stay in place. So there we go. So now we are going to fold our eggs into our batter, and we want to fold it very carefully because we want to keep as much of that beautiful air that we just put into our eggs, and we want to keep as much of it into in our batter as we can. So we're going to do this in 2 stages. So take about half of your eggs and plop them in there. You want your eggs to go in to your batter, because if you put your batter into your eggs, it's just going to push all that air. So we are going to very carefully go around the outside and over, and just do that very carefully. So ultimately we are not going to, you are going to see some egg streaks in this. So we're not going to fully 100% mix the eggs in. So you also want to make sure you're getting through the center and folding and around and folding. And you can see I've got egg and I've got batter, and it's kind of almost like swirled in there. So that's almost where, so now that I can see both, and I'm going to put the rest of my eggs, rest of my whites, into my batter, making sure I get as much as I can in there. Okay. There we go. All right, so again, we're going to go around the outside and up and over. You'll want to use a spatula, a rubber spatula, or a metal spoon when you do this. You don't want to use a wooden spoon. They don't work well. Okay, almost there. So yeah, this is the part where you get to decide when enough is enough. And if it's all the same color, you went too far, but that's okay. It'll still taste delicious. But you still want to see streaks in there. So I'm going to stop right here. I'm not going to go any farther. So as you can see, you can still see some darker streaks of batter and some white bits of meringue. And that's what we want it to look like. So now, we don't want that to set very long because we don't want to lose that air. And this is why we prepped our pans beforehand. Pans are ready, oven is ready. So, I'm going to put half in here. Half in here. See, I think I got a little more in that one than in this one. That's okay. I'm going to just scoop a little bit of that out and put it over here. All right, so now we're going to just lightly push it. Again, you don't want to lose any of those air bubbles. You can see nice happy air bubbles in there. So I'm just going to spread that out so it touches the sides. Spread this out to the sides here. So, and again, I'm going to point out that you can see bits of the egg white in the batter. All right, so those are good to go in. So I'm going to put these in the oven, and I will get you a bake time. I believe it is 20 minutes. So I will see you very soon. All right. So the cakes have come out of the oven. You can see there's a nice golden brown on the top and nice golden brown around the edges. So now what we're going to do to let these finish cooling is we're actually going to turn them upside down. And this is one of the reasons why you only flour the bottom. You don't flour the sides, because it's going to be loose on the bottom, but you're going to want it to stick to those sides so that it holds like this. This is actually how you do an angel food cake, and this helps hold that nice airy cell structure inside the cake. If you start turning them over and noticing that they're going to fall out, that's okay. Just cool them right side up in the pans. I've also put a tea towel on my cooling racks in case they fall out while they're cooling. That way I don't get those grid marks in my cake. All right, so we're just gonna leave them there and let them cool, and then we'll come back and take them out. Okay, the cakes are completely cool, so it's time to take them out of their pans. So what I'm gonna do is gently turn them over. There we go. Okay, so, and you can take the back of a paring knife or the back of a butter knife. I'm going to take this plastic knife that I have, and you're just going to run it around the edges, and you're going to separate the cake from the edge. Now you don't want to use the sharp end of your knife because that's going to want to cut into that cake, and that's not what we want. We want to just push that cake away from the edge. So there we go. There's one. Okay. So now I'm going to get a plate. Ooh, it's still a little wet on the bottom. That's okay. At least the plate's clean. Ooh. Oh, come on. Now the fun part. We might have to jiggle this a little bit. Usually you can just tap it. Actually, we're just going to put it back out on this. There we go. Usually a good smack on the counter, and since it's absolutely cool and the cell structure is set, you're not going to damage it by doing that. So I'm just whacking the edge of my pan. So actually now I'm going to turn it out onto a plate. And since I have it on the dish towel, that makes it super easy. There we go. So there's one. Isn't baking fun and violent sometimes? Okay. There we go. All right. So now if I'd used a piece of parchment paper, it probably would have come out a lot smoother, but that's okay. Ooh, let's not pop him off the table while we do this. There we go. Awesome, awesome. So we have got 2 cake layers that can be flavored with syrup and stacked on top of each other. I don't recommend these for like a structural cake that you're going to carve, but they make a nice cake and they go really well with fruit. They're also super absorbent. So as I said, you can flavor them with syrups. I have a friend who actually uses this as a base for her tres leche cake, and it's absolutely delicious. So I want to show you the structure of this. So I'm actually going to cut this one in half. There we go. So as you can see, you've got a nice cell structure in there. These cakes are not huge layer cakes, but that's okay. Actually, what I would probably do is make another batch if I wanted to make a taller cake. But you can see the large cell structures in there. This one turned out very nicely. If you take your cake out and it wants to dip in the middle, that just means that you mixed a little too much. Like you said, it'll still taste good. I highly recommend it with berries and cream, and it's delicious. But you know, maybe try again. This one is a little bit lumpy. That's okay if they're a little lumpy, as long as you kind of have kept that cell structure in there. That's kind of what comes sometimes of not, you know, how we don't fully mix it all the way. That's why those occur. All right, so there's our cakes, and that's it. And so from this point, what you can do is you can refrigerate this for frosting. Remember, cold cakes actually frost a lot better than a warm cake or even a room temperature cake does. Or these cakes actually freeze really well. I would double wrap it in plastic wrap and then put it in the freezer. Just make sure you don't put anything heavy on top of it or it could smash the cake. All right, there we go. There's your cakes. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you will visit again soon. Don't forget to like this video, and if you want to see more, subscribe and hit that bell so that you can be notified when I post more videos. If you have any questions or comments about today's video, please post them below in the comments, or you can come to the Facebook page, the Sunflower Baker Facebook page, and ask or comment there, or you can email me at abby@sunflowerbaker.com. Today's recipe will be posted on my website at sunflowerbaker.com. You can also find it in the Baker's Manual. This is one of my favorite cookbooks. It has really great basic recipes that once you get the hang of baking, you can take these and manipulate them to make them your own. But it's a really good place to start. It also has helpful tips on how to braid bread and how to cut wedding cakes and just little fun tidbits like that. Did you make a chiffon cake today? I would love to see a picture of it. I love seeing pictures of people's work as well as working myself. So please post a picture on the Sunflower Baker Facebook page. All of that will be posted below so that you can easily find it. Hooray! Yay, technology, right? All right, so I hope that you are all happy and healthy today. I hope you enjoyed the show. I will see you all soon.